Right, and back on the continent, UN peacekeepers have, for the second time in the past week, repelled an attack on their base in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The UN says suspected members of the Twirwaneho armed group opened fire on the base in Minembwe in South Kivu province. The world body says peacekeepers returned fire, forcing the assailants to disperse. The UN says there are no casualties among the peacekeeping troops to report at this point. This is the second attack carried out by the group in a week towards the same UN base. The UN says a UN peacekeeper from Pakistan was killed in the September 30 attack. The Minembwe base is in the tropical highlands of the Fizi territory. It's also part of the UN mission in the DRC known as MONUSCO. The Twirwaneho is one of 120 armed groups known to be terrorizing the eastern DRC. Right, let's speak now to Professor Noel Tshiani Muadiamvita, who is the former Democratic Republic of Congo's presidential candidate and a former country director at the World Bank. A very good evening to you. Thank you so much for speaking to us. He joins us from Kinshasa in the DRC. Professor Tshiani, this is the second attack in a week. Should UN peacekeepers be concerned about their presence in the DRC?
Yes, indeed. This is the second attack in a week, which raised a lot of concern. As you know, that the people in Eastern Congo have raised a lot of concern recently concerning the presence of the MONUSCO troops, saying that after 22 years of presence in the country, peace has not returned as it was expected, although many things have been achieved in all the areas of the country. And there have been many calls recently on UN troops to withdraw, to exit Congo. I believe that it is time for the government of Congo to sit down with the United Nations and objectively assess the usefulness of the MONUSCO troops in the country, because I don't believe that we can impose peace on people who don't want the presence of the MONUSCO in the country. So we have objectively to thank the MONUSCO for the work that they have done so far, but at the same time, objectively assess if their presence is still desired as it was in the past, so that we can determine at the earliest possible when the MONUSCO should exit the country and let the Army of the Democratic Republic of the Congo and the police to assume responsibility. And as you know, also, there have been recently development in the Congo in the sense that the troops from Eastern African Development Community are supposed to come in the Congo to team up with the Congolese army to try to maintain peace. So we cannot have all the troops coming from all over the world coming to the Congo in this kind of confusion. So objectively, it is time for the UN troop to consider leaving the country in a peaceful manner. So,
Professor, we'll talk about the restructuring of the security organizations or entities in the DRC in just a moment. But I want to look at the fact that, for instance, MONUSCO dispatched a patrol of peacekeepers to join DRC forces in North Kivu province after 8 civilians were killed in a raid in Beni territory. That was believed to have been carried out by the Allied Democratic Forces rebel group, which is different to what we hear about this attack to be carried out by the Twirwaneho. So how coordinated are these attacks on US peacekeepers by the various rebel groups? We saw widespread protests in the DRC against the peacekeepers, but is it a general feeling in the country that UN peacekeepers must all go? And is it those that are internationally deployed, or does that include regional forces as well?
Well, you know that there is a proliferation of rebel groups in Eastern Congo. Some of the groups are local groups made of Congolese, but some of the groups are sponsored by foreign countries and foreign organizations. So there is a lot of confusion out there. It is very difficult to know who is responsible for what. what we know is that there is no peace and there is no stability in Eastern Congo. And it is time that all those key stakeholders who have been concerned about bringing peace to the Congo, maybe we should get around the table and determine for how long we are going to support the presence of the foreign armies which are coming in supposedly to help the Congo. But some of those armies are even coming from countries which are known to be sponsoring the attacks on the civilian as well as on the Congolese army as well as on the MONUSCO. So there is a lot of confusion, what I can say. But the ADF is one of these terrorist group alongside the M23 rebel group or sponsored this group which is sponsored by Rwanda. And they have been causing a lot of damage to the civilians, to the army, to the people's properties. And it is time really that we get together and determine way out so that in the context of the agreement which have been reached with some of the Eastern African Development Community countries, how to organize the exit and the pacification of this whole area.
So, I mean, we mentioned in the introduction that you're a former presidential contender, and I know from previous conversations that you've said you are looking to contest the presidential elections again. So I'd like to hear from you, your point of view, what you would say to the people of the DRC when you talk about security sector reform. We've seen in the past disarmament campaigns being some of the major stickler points of why the security sector is failing to coalesce in the DRC. But what else do you think ought to be done to streamline the disparate forces in the DRC to be able to finally be able to protect the people of the DRC in a non-partisan manner?
Yes, I believe that peace and stability are the precondition for development and for creating conditions for everyone to go along his own activities peacefully. So to bring peace and stability in not only Eastern Congo, but also throughout the country, it is important that those who are responsible to maintain peace and stability do have the qualification, do have the competency to do their jobs. So the first responsibility lies on the Congolese army, FRDC, and the Congolese police. It is important that we restructure the Congolese army and police, equip them as they should have all the equipment, but at the same time train them in a way that they can do their job correctly. Finally, the army soldiers and the policemen must be paid adequately. When you see, for example, in our army, you find that people are paid so low that they have to go out there to feed their families. They end up causing the same bad act which they are supposed to combat. So at the end of the day, the army is not motivated the way it should be. So therefore, the action plan that we have to put in place should include not only making sure that we have enough soldiers, enough policemen to maintain peace and stability, but to train them the way they should be trained so that they can do their job, equip them the way they should be equipped, and finally, give them the compensation that they desire, that they deserve, so that they can do the job, support their families, and not to be tempted to go out there and harass the civilian to get the money to supplement their low salaries which are being paid by the government. So in my view, that's the first step. But the second step also will include in educating the population. We have many communities living in Eastern Congo, many tribes. We have to educate the population in a way that they can accept peaceful living together so that anyone doesn't cause harm to the people from other tribes, so that we can have this coexistence, peaceful coexistence as it is required in a country which is one and which want to continue to be one, because no Congolese want to have what they call balkanization. No Congolese want to see this country split in parts, with some people controlled by the foreigner and some people being loyal to the country as we are.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Much appreciated, Professor Noel Tshiani Muadiamvita, who is a former Democratic Republic of Congo presidential candidate.